what's going on, folks? It's André here with Long & McQuaid. Today we're taking a look at a really cool amp. Bit of a dark horse. I don't think a lot of people know about this. This is Marshall's Origin 20. If you've always wanted to buy an affordable, high-end Marshall, this might be your answer. Some people call this the affordable PLEXI. This comes in at well under $1,000 Canadian, and it is built with all the vintage stylings of the old school. So you look at the faceplate here with the rounded corners, the gold faceplate. This thing looks, feels, and sounds as vintage as it gets when it comes to Marshalls. So we're going to dive into all kinds of stuff, get some tones going, and show you guys what this thing's all about. Okay, let's start with the knobs here. And first thing we got is the presence knob. That's what is pretty commonplace on a lot of other Marshall heads, and basically takes you from a soaked treble down to like a bassy tone, all the way up to a very mid treble-y tone. So you can hear that's on the bottom setting. 12 o'clock right in the middle. And all the way up. As you can see, it adds a lot to your tone. And moving on from that, we've got the master volume. Something we really have to dive into here. So with vintage amps that didn't have a gain stage, the way you would get your distortion would be volume only. You'd have to really start to pin that volume to get some breakup and some tube saturation. And this was before the days where pedals were commonplace. You'd have to really just juice these 50 to 100 watt amps through the roof, and then you would get a real power out of your amps. So with this amp here, it has a gain stage, which has regular, and it also has a pull boost on your gain. However, to really maximize the overdrive and the distortion, you're going to have to use your master volume to increase the distortion. I'm going to show you what it sounds like right here. So we got the regular gain at 12 o'clock. Now I'm going to put the master volume to 12 o'clock, and we'll see what we get. Not much. When I first started playing this amp, I was a little underwhelmed as to, okay, where's all the gain? I mean, I've got the gain button turned up halfway, and I'm not hearing a heck of a lot of distortion. Well, watch this. Why don't we pin the master volume and hear the difference? Way different. Now we'll turn the gain up and see what else we get. Now we're talking. So what we're going to do now is we are going to pull out this gain stage and see what kind of boost we get. Way better. We got tons of distortion, and if you want to bring the power soak up to medium, you're going to get way more volume and increased overdrive. You can hear we're really driving those tubes and driving the power amp and the preamp. This thing is really starting to rock now. So that's what I mean by this master volume. Let's roll it back down again. So now I'm back down to 12 o'clock with the gain pinned with the boost up. We're losing a lot lot of overdrive there just based on the master volume. So that's a quick tour of the master volume and what it can do. Head back down to the low stage. Also with your guitar volume, you can control the amount of gain. So we roll down the volume on the guitar and you can get some clean tones. So let's check it out. So as you can see, you can really control the tones and the volumes and the overdrive based on your guitar volume and the amp volume. It's a beautiful thing once you've dialed this stuff in. It took me a while to get this amp dialed into where I liked it, but I really dove in to the onboard gain and overdrive. I really loved how it was in its natural state. Obviously, people are going to be throwing some pedals down to add reverb, delay. Personally, I added a rat to this for some leads just to see what kind of different flavors we can get. And yeah, it sounds awesome. For now, we're just going to stay within the land of the head tones and all its wiring and see all the sounds we can get. We also have a 3-band EQ here. Nothing fancy, pretty standard on Marshall amps. We've got treble, middle, and bass. And that's pretty self-explanatory. It's the tilt dial here that I want to talk about. This again will control a lot of your tone, and I'll explain why. On vintage Marshall amps and vintage Plexis, they would have 2 volume controls. One was a normal input, the other was a bright input. The tilt button here emulates the normal and bright inputs of the vintage Plexi style amps. Let's take the tilt all the way to the left, which would be emulating a normal input setup. Okay, let's push the tilt to the middle. A little bit brighter. Now let's go all the way. So as you can see, this is a really cool addition to the amp, which basically takes away extra buttons and inputs and turns it into more of a tone knob, which I think is really cool. Running down the specs of this amp, this is a 20-watt valve amp with 3/4 inch outputs. You have 8 ohm and 16 ohm speaker outs along with a DI out. You have 1/4 inch instrument input. The controls are gain, boost, tilt, bass, middle, treble, and master volume controls. The amp also comes with 1/4 inch effects loop send and return. The amp is equipped with 3 ECC83 preamp valves and 2 EL34 power amp valves. Accessories included are 1 Marshall footswitch. The amp dimensions are 20.5 inches wide, 8.9 inches high, and 8.66 inches in depth. Okay, now quickly talking about the cabinet here. This is a Marshall Origin 212A 212 slant cabinet. So you have 2 7080 Celestion speakers on the inside. And as you can see, it's got a vintage Marshall style design that goes beautifully with the head. And it sounds amazing. This package is just really appealing to the eye. Doesn't take up too much room. It's not a giant 412. This thing is nice, sleek, vintage looking. It's got some beautiful complementary colors going on and would look amazing in your studio. I'm buying one myself. For the record, I'm going to be putting this in my studio because it is just so good and answers all the needs I want for any Marshall amp. And I've wanted one for a long time, but I'm going the route of the Origin 20 for the price, for the vintage look, and for the tones you can get out of it, especially the power attenuation switch. That is just money in the bank right there. Okay, let's dive into some playing and see what this amp can do. Okay, thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned something today about the Marshall Origin 20. And keep in mind, the Origin series of amps comes in 20 watt, 50 watt heads, also comes in several combo options. Head down to a Long & McQuade, check one of these out, play one yourself, and you'll really see what you're getting for the value. It's just an amazing amp for an amazing price. So click the links in the description below, and we'll talk to you next time.
Long and McQuade, where the music begins.